lie, we are celebrating our favorite apocalypses with people who specialize in various genres in and around media. So Nick is here representing any of the number of amazing authors and RPG writers that he constantly has on his show. Hey, Uga Chaka! This is a show where we interact, Nick. You're the guest.
Oh.
You have to be.
Are we actually live? Are we actually out there? Or are people watching
Yeah,
us?
we are.
Oh,
We're totally live. As soon as I invited you.
I thought there was like a prep time thing going on where we were like, okay, let's get the thing set up. And I was like, I just got the notification. I was like, oh, I saw your notification, and I was like, okay, there it is. It's okay. What's going on?
You're so fancy, Nick. I love that you're so fancy with your fancy stuff. No, that's not how this works. We go straight into the show.
Oh. Well, I'm just gonna have to be all unprofessional with the weird green screen thing in the background.
No, you can putz with it as we get started, just as long as you know people are showing up to hear us talk about things. Hey, Uga Chaka, it's good to see you. Hey, David, it's good to see you. Hey, Kermit. Hey, Scott, how are you? We have a lot of awesome people who have come to celebrate the apocalypses with us today, Nick.
Yeah. All of the apocalypses.
Yeah, the
so
plural
many.
of apocalypse is apocalypse. So, hey, Scott, I haven't seen you in forever. I hope things are going well in Michigan land. Alrighty then. All right, Nick, tell me when you are ready, and we are going to jump into today's topic.
I thought it was like an ellipses, but apocalypses. Shouldn't that be the plural? Like an ellipses?
Do we want to call it the apocalypses? Because we can call it the apocalypses. Yeah,
I don't know what it really is. Somebody who's got a degree in language, let us know.
The plural of apocalypse is apocalypse.
But what should it be is the real question. Whoever did it, they're wrong. Whoever said that, it's wrong.
That is fair. Yes. You don't often think about multiple ends to the world, but that's literally what today's topic is. Oh, how did I lose Nick already? Nick, come back.
I'm here. I'm just trying to figure out how to get this dang thing to save my background. It just keeps giving me this green thing, and it's like, it gives me this whatever, so I guess that's just what I have to do.
You're amazing, and I love talking to you, so that's enough. You can green screen it if you need to. Just green screen it.
It's green, guys. It's green with a weird little bar right here, whatever this bar is. And my hands are disappearing, too. What the heck? I'm in my office, and like where my office is and where I do all of my live stream stuff from, I switch, so I have this ginormous green screen that's the size of a baseball field in my office, and so I'm not going to take it down. That's just too much work. So I'm like, well, maybe TikTok has a thing where I can. No, it doesn't.
That's a thing. You got to play with some of that stuff in advance. I don't think that feature is fully.
I spent the whole day yesterday, but it's not working.
You might not be able to do it when we dump. You might not be able to do it when we double host. So
maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's on the live.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're talking apocalypse. Right?
We're talking apocalypses today, Nick.
I thought you said that wasn't the word.
Yeah, it's apocalypse. It's plural. The plural of apocalypse is apocalypse. So, everybody, welcome to the Board Game Live. And if you are new to the live, the show is basically we pick a topic in and around board gaming or gaming culture, and then we elaborate on it. Last month, we did a hodgepodge of things. We talked about gamer pride, so we're the one not. This month, I decided we would focus, especially after the debates, we would focus on the end times.
You said it. You went there.
I did.
Hello, Redbeard.
Okay.
Welcome in.
Yes, Uga Chaka is in tune with the topic because he is always ready for the end. Generationally, I think Cold War kids, and particularly Gen Xers, have a very different relationship with the construct and the genre of post-apocalyptic. And for the rules for this month, we are also including things like dystopias. Okay? Examples of dystopias are like Sanctuary and Logan's Run, 1984, THX 1138. These are all examples of dystopias. Okay? If it includes like the world in mid-ending, like Armageddon movies might be its own like topic, like watching the world burn. But
I mean, dystopian. Ready Player One is Ready Player One dystopian? Does that count?
It's close.
That's dystopian. It feels close.
It's close. But we will start with that definition every time. So, Nick, for folks who are not familiar with your amazing, and Dinotopia, that's great, David. Who are not familiar with your amazing, give the 3-second speech of who you are and how you help nerd culture every week.
My name is Nick, and I am the host of a podcast and live stream called Epic Realms. The Epic Realms podcast interviews people that are board game designers, video game designers, audiobook narrators, authors, TV personalities, usually all focused on geeky type stuff, but not always. So we have all kinds of amazing guests, and then we have a live stream also where we have another show called Off the Pod that's kind of interactive and really silly. And live stream, we still do video games and stuff like that on the live stream as well. So that's Monday through Friday. We always have something going on Monday through Friday. So, and you've been on there a bunch, and you've been an amazing guest. You and Mark from Fight in the Box have been amazing to come on and do all.
Yeah, we've gotten to run the Mechanical Corners RPG. More importantly, we got to run the Mechanical Corner RPG for legitimate authors.
That's right. You guys played for Ed Greenwood, Eric Scott DeBee, and Chris Jackson got to play Mechanical Corners, and they all had nothing but good things to say about it. They had a lot of fun.
It is, if you have not checked out Epic Realms, the quality of like indie guests and authors, Nick does an amazing job with the show. We're very lucky during the upcoming End of the Line crowdfund to steal 2 of his spots coming up. So we're going to be playing some End of the Line
next week. Isn't that next week?
It is next Tuesday, but we're really excited. So
Monday and Tuesday for us. So
yes. As the topic goes, like, what is your earliest? We usually do. What is your earliest memory of gaming, or when did you jump into gaming? But for this month, I would think, what was the first apocalypse that you remember, like being riveted to?
Oh gosh, Mad Max. Or it might be anime. It might be like a Vampire Hunter D type situation. Because my dad, when I was a little kid, my dad would have on whatever shows, and he'd fall asleep at the TV and it was like TNT or TBS or something like that would be playing, and it'd be super late, and I'd still be up, and I'd see like Vampire Hunter D would come on, and I was just like, oh, it's a cartoon. But I was right at that age where I could watch more adult things, and so I was like riveted by this animation style that was something way more than I had ever seen in Transformers or G.I. Joe, so it was pretty awesome. Or it might have been like the Mad Max, not the first Mad Max, but the Road Warrior. I used to watch that religiously when I was a kid, so.
Yeah, every time that's coming up, the Blade Boomerang was like my post-apocalyptic weapon of choice, and we're going to talk about that later.
You don't need fingers. Who needs fingers?
Pat remembers how old I am, and Reagan's America as a dystopia also counts. For me, the answer to that question, there were so many good apocalypse and dystopian 70s movies. They really stuck. But because of their proliferation, it might be all of the original Planet of the Apes movies.
Oh.
There's so many Planet of the Apes movies.
There is. There's something that just never vibed with my soul. There was something about it that I was just like, click. I don't know what it was.
Oh, Escape from New York is a fantastic version.
Yes.
Escape from New York.
Amazing.
And we're going to talk about Escape from New York. We're going to talk about Mad Max when we talk about protagonists. Notice that I did not say heroes when I said protagonists in the post-apocalyptic genre. All right. So Vampire Hunter D is a great idea, and it leads me to this question: is does post-apocalyptic have to be at its core science fiction, or does fantasy have its own flavor of post-apocalypse?
I think you could do both. Heck, it could be neither. It could be historical too, right?
I'll give you an example.
What legitimately would happen in a post-apocalyptic sort of situation? Look at what is it? What was that TV show? Last Man Alive or Last Man Standing or whatever. It was kind of a comedy, but it was like, it was pretty realistic, where it's like there is nobody left, but there's not zombies, there's not anything like that. It's just the world has ended, or everybody has disappeared, or whatever it is.
Oh,
but there's not anything specific. There's nothing science fiction to it. There's no monsters. There's no fantasy. There's no anything like that. It's just, reality hits what would really happen if, 3/4 of the population just ended at once.
Oh, like a historical reckoning of what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, the road really presents itself as, like, the most, like since it's a future, like, often post-apocalyptic settings talk about a future that hasn't happened. And the thing with fantasy post-apocalypse, like Game of Thrones is obviously a avoided apocalypse situation, right?
Yeah.
Right? The White Walkers, if the White Walkers had won, that's kind of stuff. Lord of the Rings is the exact same thing, like nearly averted apocalypse, right. And that's often where fantasy brings you to the brink of destruction, so forth and whatnot. The Book of Eli is
good.
Is in that category. Is it fantasy? Is it science fiction? That is like
it good?
Where...
Yes, it's good. It's very good.
The Book of Eli is in a subgenre for post-apocalypse that I call punchline post-apocalyptic movies. Okay? The Book of Eli is definitely in that category. So is A Boy and His Dog. Like, A Boy and His Dog is literally the punchline to the world's worst dad joke. And you watch this at 87 minutes to get this dog to say this line at the end of this movie, and it is worth it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Book of Eli is basically a Fallout 3 spinoff. Nice. Yeah, that's kind of true.
Fallout is basically a man and his dog spinoff. Like, everything Fallout, as we talk about this all month, we'll talk about like landmark moments in the genre of post-apocalypse that other things then just build off of. And so for the one on. So for you, Nick, to be attracted, to be fascinated with a post-apocalyptic situation, which are your favorite elements that have to be present?
I'm drawn to the like post-apocalyptic, like nuclear scenario. The Fallouts, the Mad Max, the Deadlands, that kind of stuff. I'm a fan of that kind of a theme where you kind of get a little bit of everything, or you can get a little bit of everything.
So you like a nuclear option.
Yeah, I like that.
Bombs have not fallen. If bombs have not fallen, it is not your apocalypse.
Kinda, yeah. As far as entertainment goes, in reality, I don't want any nuclear bombs dropping.
What about The Last of Us? No bombs happened in that one.
I don't know enough about The Last of Us. I know a little bit about it, but isn't that kind of sort of a zombie apocalypse sort of situation?
It is. Like, bio-zombies.
I'm not a zombie apocalypse sort of person.
Bio-zombies are their own kind of zombies. You have mystical zombies. You have, like infection zombies. You have, like, mutant zombies, which is the Umbrella Corporation and everything. But then you have bio-zombies, which are their own terrible sort of animal. So zombies are out for you.
Yeah, they don't. I don't. I'm not a. If they want brains, I don't want none. There. I mean, there are exceptions. Like I like the Resident Evil movies; those were okay. But like 28
Game of
Days
Thrones,
Later
in or out.
stuff
There
like
are
that.
definitely zombies in Game of Thrones.
But it's not a zombie flick, right? That's not the point. The point isn't. It's all about zombies. It's not. It's not. Oh, what's the super popular zombie show that I don't ever watch? That used to be on HBO.
Yeah, The Walking Dead.
Yeah, it's not The Walking Dead, right? It's completely different.
What about 28 Days Later?
No, absolutely not. I saw that in the movie. I almost walked out. A friend of mine paid for my ticket, and I sat through it because he wanted to see it, and he loves zombie movies, and I support my friends. So if a friend of mine wants to see a movie that I absolutely do not want to see, I'm going to go see that movie. Did I want to walk out of it? Yes, I kind of did. I was not a fan.
Because it was so awful and visceral for you, or because you find it boring? Like, what is it about a zombie movie that is such a massive turnoff? Like,
I don't know. I just don't like. There's just something about the zombie flicks that just never got to me. It's not entertaining to me, and I don't know what it is. I couldn't explain it to you. But you sit me down in front of the zombie movie, and I'm like, oh, I bet there's a zombie behind that door. Don't open that. Oh, you open that. Yeah, you open that door. But I'll watch a horror flick. I'll watch, Jason Voorhees, and I'll be like, don't open the door. Don't open. Oh my God, So I don't know what it is. I couldn't tell you.
that's very interesting, and we're gonna dig in and around that topic. Asian martial arts movies have hopping zombies. Have you ever seen a hopping zombie movie?
I mean, probably, but I couldn't name one. But maybe I don't. I don't know. It's possible, but I couldn't point one out to you.
Well, how about Evil Dead? Do you like Bruce Campbell?
You got me. I will watch anything Bruce Campbell touches. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's My Name is Bruce and he's fighting a mummy. I don't care if he's Bubba Hotep fighting zombies. I'm watching a Bruce Campbell flick every day of the week. And it's not because of the flick. It's because of Bruce Campbell. Let's be honest.
Like Bruce is my favorite star from Michigan, by clear. But so the Army of Darkness movies and the Evil Dead movies are averted apocalypses, barely averted apocalypses,
Maybe.
and zombie flicks. So you will accept horror comedy. Is that correct?
Depending on it, yeah. I mean, I have weaknesses to a lot of things. There's openings in all of there's vulnerabilities in all of my armor. So
You are amazing.
Like, no zombies, then it's like Resident Evil's over here and Bruce Campbell's over here, and that I've got a Swiss cheese shield against zombie movies. Let's be honest.
All right, the reason that I bring this up is if you ever wanted to see the Shaw brothers make a Bruce Campbell-esque horror comedy, that is the entire genre of hopping zombie movies.
Okay.
It is the campiest horror movies in kung fu horror movies are hopping zombie movies. Like, Asian zombies come about not because of like a plague or the end of the world. It is a function of Taoist belief why zombies sprout into existence. Did you know this?
No.
No, so in Asian zombie lore, a body that has been put to rest poorly or in a bad place will start picking up negative chi, like yang energy. And if it gets enough of that energy together, it will pop out of the ground and start eating people.
Nom 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 nom.
Right? And it doesn't have full control over its body, so it can't move. It sticks its arms out like this and it hops.
So is that where the Michael Jackson Thriller comes from then?
There's a little bit of that, but I don't know if you remember the old arcade classic like Darkstalkers. It's a fighting game.
Yeah.
And they had
Darkstalkers, yeah.
They had a hopping zombie in that. I love me a hopping zombie shenanigans.
That explains why it's in so many old video games, because a lot of those were,
all right, so
made overseas. And
like everything Asian, like you can have a goal as a hopping zombie. if you eat enough people as a hopping zombie, you become a vampire.
Okay. Carry the 3 divided by the square root of I don't know. What? A zombie becomes a vampire. Okay.
A zombie, like this idea,
like our kind of vampire, like Nosferatu, Dracula type vampire. Or is it like their own kind of vampire?
Yeah, they they drink blood. They can turn invisible. They're articulate. They have magical abilities, right? They still they glide across the ground. They stop hopping though. They go whee.
It's just one hop that hasn't ended yet.
Yeah, and then they fly. I love me some hopping zombies. And so the Taoist sorcerers, you can tell because they slap the talismans, the long paper talismans on the foreheads of the zombies, and they wear bright yellow. And when they ring the bell, that forces the zombies that they have under control of to jump together as a group.
Okay.
It's amazing. And so the Taoist sources are trying to get them to a place where they can put them to rest again.
So they're like instead of the flute guy with the mice, you got a bong and a talisman.
You got a bell.
You got a bell.
And paper talismans.
So is that where Monty Python got the bring out your dead? Bring out your dead.
The bell for bringing out your dead is like a universal theme for these guys. So hey, and speaking of universal themes, hey everybody, welcome to the live. This month's theme is we are celebrating our favorite apocalypses. My guest is Nick from Epic Realms. And he is a fantastic podcaster and Twitch streamer who has many amazing guests on constantly. And we got off topic talking about zombies as a form of apocalypse and so forth. It's my fault. It's my fault. Nick, which of your authors have brought to you apocalypses that you wanted to celebrate? And what is your favorite apocalypse?
Most recently, I think I had Chris Jackson on, and he had recently done an apocalyptic book, post-apocalyptic book, and a lot of the world was like underwater, and he literally was telling me how the research of pulling up a map. And again, Chris Jackson, amazing author, he played Mechanical Corners with us, and he literally brought up the Google Maps, and he had to find a program that could raise the water level so he could see the area that he was writing and see what places would be underwater and what wouldn't be. And he superimposed it over a satellite view of Google Maps and had this. So, okay, these buildings are underwater, and this much of this building is underwater. And it was really just a cool story. I think we had Josh Mallerman on who did the Bird Box book, and we're promoting that and all of his stuff. He does a lot of horror stuff. And so he did Bird Box, and Bird Box is kind of post-apocalyptic with, zombies and, don't make sounds and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, as far as I go, one of my favorite genres is in tabletop RPGs is the Deadlands Wasted West. I mean, I like all of Deadlands. And we have
let's talk about Deadlands. Give me the 3-second spiel about what Deadlands is and what you are tasked to do as a Deadlands character.
So Deadlands is like a post-apocalyptic tabletop RPG. They have a couple versions. I like the old-fashioned one where you're using poker chips and playing cards along with your dice. And it's got a bunch of different settings. So they've got a noir setting. They've got an Old West setting, like a Weird West type setting. But the Wasted West is a post-apocalyptic, thing in the West. So they've got every trope you can think of when it comes to the apocalypse. Everything. They've got zombies, they've got monsters, they've got mutants, they've got just pretty much everything you can think of. And they also bring in any pop culture references you want. So a lot of the characters and NPCs are based on people from when they were writing it. So, there's a gang leader who kind of has this big white handlebar mustache, brother, and has this bandana dude. And he, what you gonna do, brother? as a character that's just in this world.
If people didn't know, Nick is one of Hulk Hogan's love children from when he was on the road. So I know his mom doesn't like to talk about that a lot. Nick in Nick's former life was a crier and huckster for Renaissance festivals, and you can see all that playing out in the Nickness.
The Nickness. Thanks. Is that a compliment? I don't know if that's a compliment.
It is. In my realm, it is definitely. In my epic realm, it is definitely a compliment. In your epic realm.
But yeah, Deadlands is just really this cool setting, and they've just got so many things. They've got individual towns. They've got a ton of adventures that you can do, and you can make up your own stuff, and it really inspires you as a creator, as a game master, as a role player, to delve in and kind of help make your own stuff, to design.
Did you play this with Bear?
I have. I've played this with a blind GM. I played it. We played it for. Honestly, I've played it pretty much since right out of high school, and we haven't played in like 5-6 years. But it's still one of my most fond RPGs out there that I like to play. I'm not going to play it on stream just because there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to combat. But in person, it's so much fun, and there's so many cool little things. And it doesn't matter how powerful you get; a generic guy can kill you just as easily instead of like some RPGs where that's not the case. So you can come across that one zombie, and he can kill you. Doesn't matter how powerful you are.
Combat always being deadly is a real thing. It's like a choice. It's a flavor in an RPG, right? Like one of my favorite indies early was Talislanta. And Talislanta, no matter how much better you get, you are one like dagger thrust or sword thrust away from death. That is a flavor of game that you can buy into, and it is definitely a choice. Did you ever do any Shadowrun?
I have not. Contrary to what many of my friends have played, and the amount of times I've said, I want to play Shadowrun, and it doesn't ever happen. But I've got some things in the works to get me to basically get to play some Shadowrun coming up down the road, so I'm pretty excited for that. But
Shadowrun has an interesting apocalypse, which is the reemergence of magic onto the world, a science fiction world that redistributes the world at large. And so it's part dystopia, part crime noir, part apocalyptic, like eco-terrorists and our major function. Yeah, and so it is it's a feature. So what is one of your favorite moments? What sold you as your favorite? Like, what is your favorite moment that you either got to play or that you remember in this apocalypse that makes it so genuine for you?
It's maybe not as an apocalypse. There are a few moments in the game system that were really cool that sold me on the system. And then you take the system and then you add post-apocalyptic to it. And it's just like, holy cow, that's just a super cool idea. And I guess there's a lot of things. And one of the major ones is the ability to bring in pop culture references, to throw them in there. You get a little bit of everything. No matter what you want to do, no matter what you want to tie into it, you can do it. It's so free and open to do that. And it's a lot of fun, and it's different than a D&D. It's something completely different from any other tabletop RPG out there, really.
I would make that argument that another world that has everything can be included in it, and is a post-apocalyptic, is One Piece.
I have not played that. You gonna run that for me?
One Piece, the anime about Monkey D. Luffy, which is a Netflix series, multiple games on PC, fighting style games, and of course the manga and anime that is from 98-99, which is still going on. I would argue strongly that One Piece is a piece of post-apocalyptic fiction, especially in I would definitely argue strongly as a person who has been following it this a very long. All right, so of all the apocalypses, if this is your favorite RPG apocalypse is your favorite, what is the apocalypse that you've spent the most time playing or interacting with?
That's a very good question. Depending on your point of view, like, you mean movies or because let's be honest, when you're tabletop,
it could be Fallout. Like Fallout, you can spend infinite amount of time in the Fallout universe just playing it, right?
Right. So outside of Deadlands, because let's be honest, you sit down for a tabletop RPG, you're sucking up 4 to 10 hours in one session, and we play for 15 years. So we're gonna set that little tidbit aside right there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Like, how often did you guys play in a month?
There was a time where we'd play every 3-4 times a week. So
that's amazing.
I'm so jealous. Back when you're young and you're working a part-time job and you can afford rent and you got all the energy in the world to get done with work and role play for 12 hours and then sleep for an hour and go back to work. These days, maybe not so much. But Fallout's a good example. Like I killed a lot of time in Fallout 76, which is our the online MMO type game. I've dabbled a little bit, and there's a Mad Max video game it's okay, nothing too special. Terminator is a great movie series that we used to enjoy watching. So a lot of movies I used to like a lot. In the 80s, there's a lot of good movies in the 80s that are post-apocalyptic.
All right, spending time post-apocalyptic in theaters, like, the reason that I mention your favorite versus where you've spent the most time versus which is the best is really what we're talking about this month. This month, this topic is our favorite apocalypses. Like, there's probably a real argument that XCOM 2 is an alien apocalypse and dystopia. I have spent like 1,700 hours on XCOM 2 since it came out.
Wow. Some game time there.
It's a serious amount of game time. That number is weird for a number of reasons. Like XCOM is what apocalypse would you say made me horrible? Like, I would say the real one. Which apocalypse made the genre? That is a great question, and we'll probably that's such a good question. I think we should include it in all of this month's discussions. For you, Nick, what is the quintessential post-apocalyptic something? If you were gonna start somebody in on appreciating post-apocalyptic whatever, what is the most approachable / signature item that you would feel comfortable bringing anybody into?
It would have to be a movie, because you only get, it's a 90-minute spot.
Because it's short. All right.
Yeah, it's short. It gets all of the feels in there. It tells a complete story. You can sit down if you want to pause it and get up and get popcorn or something. You can do that. If you need to explain something, you can. So I think it'd have to be some sort of a movie. I like the Mad Max theme. Probably a Mad Max. The original Mad Maxes, probably Road Warrior, Beyond Thunderdome, would probably be something along those lines.
If I had to pick Mad Max movies, I would either pick Fury Road because it is the best of all that series and it is so insanely good.
Except for Mad Max isn't in it. They got some other guy pretending to be Mad Max who's not even the same character. He doesn't even act it the same. At least try and play the character, right? Here's the character. Here's the parameters for how he is played. At least try and play the character.
I think Tom Hardy doesn't.
Name him a different character. This new movie, the new what is it? The Legend of Furiosa or whatever.
Yeah.
What is it called? But that should have been the name of the first movie.
I think Tom Hardy's Mad Max is acceptable.
It's good. It's just it's not the same character. They should have just named him something else or made him a different character.
I don't know. We'll have a debate about that. That is a fair argument. I can see what you're saying.
I love how they portrayed him. It's just that's not the same character, right? It's like, this is Superman, but no, he's not. That's Homelander. It's a completely different character. They did it right. They didn't call him Superman. They called him Homelander.
Uga Chaka said something very interesting. He says Tom Hardy's character was the mute kid from the original Road Warrior. Now that is a very fun. And then Max becomes like the Dread Pirate Roberts. Like there is always a Max, and someone could assume the role of Max.
They could have established that in the movie, right? They could have established that. They could have said that, this is that. But like they gave the same backstory to him, where all of this stuff happened and the tragedy and the family. Like they gave him the same backstory, and I liked it. But they should have said. They should have just even said, yeah, there's this other guy named Max who's an old retired guy who did the same, had a similar background. Just something, so we knew it wasn't the same character.
That's interesting. So there's an article that rates the deadliest and the least survivable post-apocalypses. And it lists all of them and puts them on a chart and why. And they split the Mad Maxes between the new one and the old ones. They split them, and the new ones are far more hellish than the original three.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong; they're great movies. I'm just biased, and I understand that. And I'm allowed to be biased towards the movies I grew up with. I'm allowed. That's okay.
I love headcanon. I love everybody projecting themselves into a genre. I think that's an exciting thing about being a fan is being able to create your own stories in it. And that is one of the arguments that if the best form of post-apocalyptics are the ones where you get to be a character. Yeah. Right?
I agree. Same with role-playing. If you can make yourself as a character in a tabletop RPG, then you've got a pretty good RPG right there.
I am RPG biased, and next week we're gonna have Scene 4 on. If you don't know that TikToker and professional GM, and he's gonna talk about his favorite apocalypses, and I think that he's gonna have a serious RPG bend as well.
Nice. David said, "What about mentions Death Race? Death Race is a good post-apocalyptic."
Oh, Death Race. Are we talking like the original?
I like the
with
Jason
David
Statham
Carradine.
Version. I like the Jason Statham one, but the David Carradine one's okay too.
It's very dystopian. Like we've given up on society and everything
it's more dystopian than post-apocalyptic, but
Rollerball is so good in that exact same. Like it's all going downhill. Let's talk about flavors of dystopia for a second. So, Death Race and Rollerball are the flavor of dystopias that things are always going to just continue to grade slowly and slowly and slowly. Like, we're going to still have recognizable, terrible elements where something like Fury Road or All of Us or any of the other, like, there's a catastrophic event that does reset, right? Where dystopias are really sort of want to remind you that one element of society is just going to continue on, be it crime, be it authoritarianism, be it like whatever people are doing to try to continue some semblance of the momentum of human civilization going. So, as a reminder, End of the Line has that as a flavor, like the flavor of bureaucracy in that Rollerball or Death Race, like why do people line up? Well, there is always going to be bureaucracy, and you are always going to suffer because of it. All right, so that being said, we talked about apocalypses in movies. We talked about apocalypses in games and in role-playing games. Let's talk about apocalypses in television. Okay. Long-form television arguably is the greatest art form that moved forward in our generation. Right? Let's assume that you and I are of similar generations. Not true, but let's just
We're pretty close. We've talked about this. We're not too far apart.
We're farther than you think. You are infinitely young and fantastic, Nick. But this is.
I look young on TV. What can I say?
You do. It's the green screen. It helps it out. So
yeah, thanks for pointing out the green screen failure. Under the bus I go. Woohoo!
Woo! All right. So as an example of that, we already mentioned Game of Thrones. We already mentioned Last of Us. Certainly, Walking Dead was a cultural phenomenon, right?
Yeah, it was.
Like Last of Us is fantastic. Sweet Tooth is in that area, and then of course, anime is rife with apocalypses. The argument that One Piece is a post-apocalyptic, the 100 is a great example.
The new Fallout series was amazing.
The new Fallout series is amazing. So, where do you think the overlap for sweet spot for television versus apocalypse is? Like, obviously, we mentioned a little bit about The Boys, too. The Boys is skirting a superhero end of the world, right? Like,
right.
Like, they undermine society to that much, but they're much more in that dystopia, rollerball / death race sort of genre. That things will continue to descend because people will continue to try to hold on. So, TV, what would be your favorite new TV something if you were going to have an apocalypse that you would want to see in long-form television?
Well, it's hard because there are so many good ones that are already out there that it's like, I just wish that they would do more of. Like that new Fallout was, they couldn't have done that any better as far as I was concerned. Like, it felt like I was playing the game, and they made sense. It felt like I was playing the different, because the games don't all have the same feel, right?
No.
If you play Fallout Shelter, that feels a lot different than Fallout 3. They feel a little bit different, but you still get the vibes from all of those throughout the series, and they melded it so well. And it was so like you got that post-apocalyptic feel as well, which was really nice. So for me, it's really hard to beat that right now because that's like at the forefront of mine and so many people's imaginations because it is that that post-apocalyptic nuclear apocalypse sort of situation that I think, like, if I could survive the nuclear blast, then yeah, okay. But I did like The Last of Us, but The Last of Us seemed a little too slow and a little too far-fetched for some of the personalities were over the top for me. And it was funny, but for wanting comedy, like, it was a dry comedy that I didn't feel like at the time. So something in between would be kind of nice.
All right, so let's dissect this a little bit for you. For the long form television, you are having shows that want to give you fire every episode. Then you have ones that want to take you through an arc, and then they have ones that have slow builds. Like, right. For example, Andor. I loved Andor as a series for the Star Wars folks. It is a slow build, and it gives you that nitty gritty of like those kind of things. Shannara Chronicles, that is an apocalypse and a fantasy one. The Last of Us takes you through like the personal connections that you have to make the kind of decisions that you're going to make, which is fantastic. But to talk about Fallout as a genre, it hit on so many different cylinders, and it was able to give you different lenses to look at people and things. Okay?
Yeah. It felt a little like Game of Thrones, where you had these different characters and you get different points of views and like how they all worked, and you got different feels depending on who you were looking at.
Yes. All right. So you obviously have the spoilers for Fallout if folks are still hanging out and having this kind of fun with us. For the overarching, the Ghouls arc is really the arc of how the world ended.
Yeah.
You've got this window, this first-person narrative into this is how the world ended. And it starts from the very beginning, and it brings you all the way to the end, which gives you the action that you have. Okay, it gives you the vault dwellers, like how the people who retained the most of their humanity, how they had to live. Right?
One particular vault, because you see some other vaults too, and you get their story, and their vaults are a little bit different.
Yeah, all the vaults are a little bit
spoilers.
different. And some of them have kept their humanity, and they've all worked differently trying to keep their humanity.
Yeah.
And I think that is a critical aspect of the post-apocalyptic genre. How do humans stay humans in a situation where civilization is no longer civilization?
Yeah. That struggle is real.
The struggle is real. And so the reason that we mentioned sci-fi earlier is science fiction, and the best version of science fiction is a lens to look at what is immutable about the human condition. Okay? This obviously plays out in The Last of Us as a story about found family and in particular fatherhood. Right?
Yeah.
And like what it takes to believe and be a hero is sort of an aspect in that. Like, what survives in The Last of Us of the human condition is a big deal and is a super fun part of that journey. Okay? How that carries over, of course, to Fallout has everything to do with how does this one character who comes from this vault maintain her humanity in face of the lie that she was given.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the face, and in the face of the longest lived character, what parts of his humanity remain when you no longer are human?
Yeah. And what parts can others bring out in you?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Like maybe you don't have your humanity, but things happen throughout the story that kind of brings that humanity level back up and you start to care again.
What is amazing across all of these genres and really captivates me is world building. I love world building. Like dark humor, I obviously have a fascination with dark humor. But if we really talked about what's going to get me no matter what, it is creating a semi-functional or not functional at all society based given the situation. Right?
Right.
Like The Road is a perfect example of like the part of the apocalypse has happened and people really haven't found each other yet. It is a really fresh apocalypse.
Yeah, just happened.
Nobody gets it. Nobody understands it, right? Where Fallout is there's all these seeds of humanity and they're trying to restart the civilization. And The Last of Us also has that complete arc. Like, okay, we are in this where people are starting to recombine and try to do their version of civilization. Yeah. Which is interesting. Where most dystopias and the ones that we mentioned all talk about what carried on in a really Twilight Zone-y way that they call civilization.
And how creepy and weird are they? You know, and they all seem to have the dystopian things. Almost all seem to have this like it's dark, it's raining. There's neon lights everywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
am I wrong?
Close.
There are ones that aren't, but you know, when you look at a lot of them, a lot of the popular ones, that's kind of how a lot of them look.
Oh, David is just firing the bombs today. Nick, read his question. It's fantastic.
How long after an apocalypse would it take to no longer be post-apocalypse?
That is an amazing question. My argument to that is it is an indefinite amount of time. Like, it can be a super fresh one to a, like, if the ramifications of the apocalypse are still being explored in the piece of fiction, genre, or game, then I would almost argue that it is still post-apocalyptic. Like, obviously, that gets really weird when you talk about like Mass Effect, when it's like a super like celestial age
Right.
coming along. But if society gets stuck in particular, David, and has not moved forward from one state of the apocalypse or dystopia, that really sinks in that it can be a really, really, really long time.
So what you're saying is, let's have an example. Superman is kind of a post-apocalyptic story, is it not? His whole planet was destroyed.
For Kal-El, like for Kryptonians, if you take the story from Kryptonians, certainly. Does post-apocalyptic...
At what point is it no longer post-apocalyptic? It's no longer...
Right.
For him, it's not really apocalyptic, right?
Right. For him, it's post-apocalyptic. Does post-apocalyptic have to be from a human perspective?
No.
Okay, give me an example.
It has to be from the main character's perspective, or at least the main story's perspective, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite
you've got to
would
see it from their point of view.
My favorite for that would then obviously be Haley Joel Osment's AI.
Oh,
right.
Why
he's
is that?
got a like.
Why do you say that?
He's got because he's got a whole dystopia through its eventual demise, and that story is told from him. I like that movie. That movie is not very popular.
Blue People
it is
Avatar.
Oh yeah, like Avatar is an interesting. Is that an apocalypse in happening? Like, I would say the Avatar, particularly the new Avatar movies, is apocalypse in. It's not post-apocalypse. It is apocalypse.
Yeah.
Right? It is the world ending around us, not us rebuilding afterwards. And I think that's a major part of the post-apocalyptic genre.
So, Seppy, I've got a question for you. I've got a question for you. Say we have an apocalypse, right? And you survive it. There's no nuclear radiation, but it's an apocalypse of whatever sort.
Okay.
3/4 of the population is gone. Nothing works. What skills do you bring to the table to survive in that post-apocalyptic world?
You mean the skills that I would want to pick?
No.
Oh.
It happens today. Tomorrow you wake up and the world's gone to hell and you have to survive. What skills do you, Seppy, have to survive in a post-apocalyptic world?
All right. So let's pretend I'm making a character that's based on me, right? Let's
however
pretend.
You want to do it.
Let's pretend we're in a role-playing game and I'm forced to play some funhouse version of myself.
I was thinking a real version of yourself, but okay.
Okay. So the only medal that I got in the service before I got kicked out for Don't Ask, Don't Tell is sharpshooter.
Okay. So that's a skill you bring. Yeah.
I am historically speaking very accurate with the rifle.
So you'd have to get some unless you have some.
That's right. So that would be one. Number two, because of various health reasons, I do have an insanely high tolerance for pain.
That works. Yeah, that works.
Okay. But like the downsides that I'm paying for these two perks are I'm old. I have a million food allergies. I've got high blood pressure. Like I've got like
your blood
other
pressure
health
is going to go down because you're going to be doing some exercise. You're going to be working. That blood pressure is going to drop. You'll probably lose some weight too. We all will.
Let's see. Like, what else could I think is a universally approachable skill that I could use? Like, I don't think I'm good at conflict resolution.
Like, how are you going to eat? You're going to stay in shelter. How are you going to stay warm in the winter? Because, the icy, frigid colds of Minnesota.
Oh, I'm very comfortable with the cold. That's probably a perk for this. But I don't know. David, I don't think I'd be a person unless you like froze me in a bubble and woke me up after all the terrible stuff happens. I don't think I would survive the terrible stuff. Right? That's actually probably a better question. Like, which question, Nick? My question to you is, which a post-apocalypse setting could you survive the apocalypse enough to get to?
It depends on where I'm at. Like, could I survive a nuclear blast that drops in Minneapolis?
You can raise chickens.
Probably not.
You can raise chickens.
But yeah, no. Let me tell you, if I survived whatever causes everyone to die off, I think I've got it pretty made. Like, I grew up on the boundary. As a kid, I lived on the boundary waters in Minnesota. I know how to hunt, fish, garden. I know how to raise animals. I know how to take care of animals. I know how to shoot guns. I knew how to do all of that kind of stuff. I'm fairly decent at building things. I'm not a builder. But
Did you build the coop?
I did build the chicken coop. Yeah, we built that.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
No plans. No plans. We just got the lumber. Now, drop me in the middle of a forest somewhere in the middle of winter. Yeah, I'm probably gonna freeze to death. But you drop me in mid to late fall, and you give me at least a pocket knife. I've got a standing chance.
All right, so in the situation where you guys kept me in like a freezer and then busted me out when you needed somebody to help you with early generators, I do have a naval degree in nuclear plumbing.
There we go. See, now there's you are going to be the one that gives us the power. You're going to be master, and then we'll have to find you a blaster is what we'll have to do.
You'd have to wait. The problem is I need power to survive. Don't know. Yeah, I would need power for even to be relevant. You would want to keep me as a Seppy sickle for a very long time before you busted me out where I could be useful. That's the problem with me and your post-apocalyptic system.
We're just going to shove you down below, and you'll be like, "Who run Bartertown?"
Oh, ain't we a pair, Nick? Ain't we a pair? That is great. I think I'm going to seal that question too. What apocalypses could you survive? And then what skills do you bring post-apocalyptic?
You better totally be prepared because that's coming up when you join me for Off the Pod next Monday. We're going to cover this topic again. Surviving the apocalypse.
Oh my God, I'm so bad. I don't think I would. There's no universe.
For you.
I would be sacrificing myself for poets and young people, people who have a chance. Hopefully, I would find the courage in those instances to choose what I think promotes a better humanity. And I don't think this is it, Nick.
You would have to just create entertainment for us all so that we don't go mad. That's your job.
Archiving old stories like a storyteller.
Making board games.
Keeping people from trying to help people laugh and see the reason why we continue. I would love to have that as a role, but I know much better people, yourself included, who are much better at that than I am.
I'll be too busy raising chickens. Sorry.
You'll be raising chickens. It's definitely a thing. Rudimentary civilization startup skills. Where in the restarting civilization could you be useful? That is a very, very, very interesting question. Mine is in the I want to reclaim steam power part of the genre. Your town wants to embrace steam power. Great. I now have something that I can contribute.
Well, you could grow a bunch of corn, right? Grow a bunch of corn, get a whole field of corn, grind it down, and make what is it? Methanol?
Ethanol.
That's it. Without the M. Make some ethanol. The cows make methane, and I was putting the two together. That's what it was. So
that's great. You were an amazing primer for the post-apocalyptic. Thank you, Nick, so much for being our guest. We are now here in the wrap-up. So, what can people look for if they want to find you? And what do you got? What do you have coming up this month?
Well, finding me is pretty easy. Just Google search Epic Realms Podcast or Epic Realms. You can find me on all the social medias. We're on everything. Live stream is Monday through Friday on Twitch. Tonight we're just doing a recap of some tabletop role-playing games. Every Wednesday is role-playing night for us. Every Monday is talk show night for us. The other days are kind of usually video games or whatnot. But podcast. Look it up. We've got all kinds of amazing guests coming up. We got author James Lauder, tabletop RPG author. He wrote for Ravenloft, Forgotten Realms. We've got coming up. We've got Dave Schrader from Discovery Channel's Holzer Files, Ghosts of Devil's Purge, big paranormal expert, lead on all kinds of shows. He's got a new radio show coming out, and he's got a new book. So Dave Schrader is going to be joining us. So just all kinds of stuff. Just look up Epic Realms Podcast. You can find me right here on TikTok. I post stuff. All my links are here. So
that's amazing. For Fight in the Box, obviously, everything is about End of the Line this month.
I love the original. I can't wait to play that game.
Oh, I think you're going to have such a good time. We always have a good time when we hang out and play games anyway. It's sometimes my memory glitches and I don't remember all the details, but I know I always have a good time. So we're doing post-apocalyptic family survival all month. The big news is if you're here in the Twin Cities, this weekend is Convergence. If you want to come join us for a general science fiction anime cosplay con, it's the biggest nerd convention in the Twin Cities area. It's going to be over 10,000 people, I think they said this year. You can come check us out. What's that?
They said it's going to be huge.
It is. It's pretty big. So that's downtown Minneapolis. Otherwise, next week we have Scene 4 joining us, and we will be discussing our favorite apocalypses, and it's probably going to be from a role-playing end. So if you did not get enough of that today, come join us next Wednesday for the Board Game Live. Any last thoughts, Nick?
Nope, no last thoughts. I'll be at the 605 Pop Culture Con in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, July 19th and 20th. So I'll be there as well, so you can come find me there.
That's amazing. So everybody, thank you so much for turning into the Board Game Live. And as always, stay safe and have fun.